why was it so long? What's up, everybody? Welcome into Hometown Ghost Stories, Celebrity Hauntings. I am your host, Dave Wilkins. I am joined by Rob Coakley.
I am stunned by that intro.
It was so confusing. I am also joined by Jesse Wilkins.
Hello.
Hi. And we are going to do a Celebrity Hauntings episode, and it's not like the Celebrity Hauntings episodes that you're typically used to. Typically, we cover one dead celebrity and all the places that they haunt. This time, we are covering celebrities who are very much alive, but have experienced hauntings. So you haven't seen us do this yet, unless you're on Patreon. We've done it once before, but now we're doing it again. And I got a handful of celebrities here who all have pretty creepy experiences that they've recollected, and we're going to share them with you. Are you guys excited?
I am excited for this thing because I like to hear the flip side of this on occasion. And what an endorsement to go join our Patreon and get more ghost stories that you've never heard. So if you do like this, jump on Patreon, find the episode that we did on this, and give us some suggestions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to kick it off with Vanessa Hudgens. During an appearance on the Kelly Clarkson show in April of 2022, Vanessa Hudgens told the host Kelly Clarkson that she's had, quote, a lot of run-ins with spiritual beings over the years, and she's accepted the fact that I see things and I hear things. She recollects, quote, I remember getting ready for school when I was 8 years old, and there was this, you know, those duck toys that you pull the string, and then it would just zoom along. Well, there was one of those. Yeah.
Aren't they from like the 50s though?
I know. Well, Vanessa Hudgens not that old. So
yeah, she's younger than us.
Yeah. Significantly, I think. So
don't say significantly. I don't like feeling that old.
Actually might not be that significant because I feel like she's been around for kind of a while, right?
And she's 36 years old.
Is she? Oh.
Yeah. So she's 15 years older than me.
Yes.
Well, anyways, apparently she had one of these archaic toys, and it was on the dining room table. And she says, I started walking and it just started moving alongside me. She continued, I kind of shut it down for a while because it's scary. The unknown is scary. But recently I was like, no, this is a gift and something I have the ability to do. So I'm going to lean into it. I wonder if there was more than just the duck incident, because I feel like if you're just walking along the dining room table and the duck just starts moving next to you and it's a duck toy that does that, right? You pull the string and it moves on its own. I feel like you got to give me more.
I need to know if she was holding the string and she just was doing this the way it was intended.
So now I'm actually confused. Is it a duck that you just pull the string and it follows you because you're pulling the string, or is it like a pull string that propels it?
I think if I remember the toy correctly, it's like a leash and you're just supposed to tug it along.
Okay.
So my first question is, was she holding the leash?
If that's what the toy was, because I'm thinking it was a pull string that would propel the duck to move on its own. And
Jesse, if she's holding the leash, that's the worst. It's the worst ghost story anyone's ever told. I was doing the thing with the toy that you're supposed to do, and it was following me like it's supposed to, but I think it was a ghost. I don't think that's what she's saying.
I'm just going to throw it out there that I just tried to look this thing up, and I will say that whatever I just came across makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like this.
That can't be right. I think that's a goose.
Yeah, I think that thing is going to war. What does it have?
That is an actual duck on a leash, which I think is animal cruelty. I don't like it one bit.
Oh, that was the four things behind were the harnesses for the youth harness.
If putting animals on a leash is animal cruelty, my dog is going to be pissed.
It's a domesticated animal.
Can you pull that back up? Because I think that if we get a goose harness, we could put it on Dave at investigation.
You will not put me in a goose harness.
Keep him away from the whiskey. Hold him back.
I'm just flapping.
It has nothing to do with the leash. That's just what he does. He hasn't had whiskey in a while.
Tries to fly to the liquor store.
Some people get the shakes. Dave gets the flaps.
Yeah. So she went on, and she now is apparently an avid ghost hunter because of this situation that she experienced when she was 8 years old. And she quotes, Hudgens added that she uses a spirit box, which helps her analyze radio frequencies really quickly. Quote, something about the electricity that it creates allows the spirits to speak through it, she explained. Hudgens says she has always felt connected to the spirit world, but it wasn't until she traveled to Scotland to film The Princess Switch that she felt a deeper bond or conscious witch awakening, as she calls it. So she now is a ghost hunter, which is pretty cool, and uses spirit box much like we do.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the goose thing was just her first experience, or the first one that she remembers. And I think we can all speak that we have these experiences young, or our first experience in general just sort of never leaves your head. No matter how many more you have, that first one is always sort of just there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one is Helena Bonham Carter. And as she prepared to take over Vanessa Kirby's portrayal of the Princess Margaret on season 3 of The Crown, Helena Bonham Carter sought approval straight from the late royal herself with the help of a psychic medium. This isn't the first time I've heard of an actor doing this, where they're playing a character who's dead, so they actually want to communicate with the spirit of the dead person that they're portraying. And it's a pretty interesting tactic, I think, from somebody who has no experience acting.
Going back to Japan, I believe, I can't remember the name of the production, but that legend that we covered like a couple years back, anytime there's a new production of a play based on that legend, the actress playing the main part has to go to the gravesite of who they're portraying and make sure that it's okay for them to play them. So I have heard this as well.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like something that would align with Japanese culture. They're very much about respect and honor and things like that. So it's pretty cool to see it done by English and American actors too. So that's what Helena Bonham Carter did. Quote, "My main thing when you play somebody who is real, you kind of want their blessing because you have a responsibility," Bonham Carter said at the Cheltenham Literature Festival in 2019. Bonham Carter continued, she said, "Apparently she was glad it was me." Quote, "You're better than that other actress that they were thinking of." That's what the ghost said.
This feels like a direct shot at that other actress.
Damn, who was the other actress? We got ghost beef.
No, she didn't say. She didn't say. They will not admit who it was her next line there. "It was me and somebody else. They made me think maybe it's here because that is a classic Margaret thing to say. She was really good at complimenting you and putting you down at the same time."
Margaret sounds awesome.
Yeah, she does. Queen Elizabeth II's outgoing younger sister also had a word of advice for Bonham Carter. Quote, "Then she said, 'Get the smoking right. I smoked in a very particular way. The cigarette holder was as much a weapon for expression as it was for smoking," the English actress recalled of Margaret.
What a tidbit
Yeah.
to get.
Yeah,
I
you're
feel
getting.
like that's straight out of one of those like don't listen to peer pressure videos they made you watch in elementary school. Like even the ghost will try to get you to smoke cigarettes. Don't listen to them.
Don't listen to the
It's
ghost of
not
the queen.
cool.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So she got permission from the ghost and also some acting advice from the ghost, which is pretty cool. And you
Imagine if she followed her on set and just critiqued every single scene.
Yeah. "I wouldn't do it like that.
No,
You're doing it wrong.
yeah, I quit. You gotta quit. You just gotta get rid of it. Gotta get rid of that.
You have to smoke more cigarettes. Keep smoking." She's like, "It's 3 a.m. We stopped filming hours ago."
I'm so sick of cigarettes.
My God, leave me alone. I can't breathe.
Try for another one.
That's pretty phenomenal. I don't know if Helena Bonham Carter needs the acting advice, though. She's pretty awesome and everything.
She's great.
Yeah, one of my
I
all-time
can't
favorites.
think of one movie she's in that she didn't absolutely crush the role.
Yeah,
So,
literally everything is awesome.
yeah, everything she does is great.
One of the all-time greats. The next one, Megan Mullally from Will and Grace. Not one of my all-time greats. Nothing against her, but just not a name that pops into my head when I think of the all-time greatest actors or actresses. To be fair, I don't know what else she's been in, so I have no idea.
She's married to Ron Swanson in
Randy
real life.
Kaufman. That's right. He's in this story, actually.
Is he?
He is. He's the supporting actor of the story.
Ah.
Megan Mullally believed a house that she and husband Nick Offerman once lived in was haunted by the spirit of Nicole Brown Simpson, the ex-wife of former NFL star O.J. Simpson, who was murdered in 1994. Quote, "It wasn't the same house, but I just felt like it was her." I'm just kidding. It's not. It wasn't the same house, but it was on the same property where had once stood a house that O.J. Simpson had rented for Nicole Brown Simpson, quote, she said during an appearance on Busy Tonight in 2018. This is a direct quote. So it says, quote, "We would have in that house, in one corner of the house, like maybe where the bedroom used to be in that old house, we would have all these sounds and weird things all the time. I would be like, that's Nicole, and she's pissed because Nick doesn't get it," end quote. So what Nick didn't get apparently was much of
so
anything.
poetic.
I know that was not worded masterfully. What Nick didn't get apparently was much of anything about who she was or the significance of her death. Basically, this dude was not paying attention to the news in the mid 90s because he had no idea who she was or what the significance of her death was. So while she didn't say anything implicitly about it, we imagine Nick was off in the woods building a cabin or doing something completely disconnected while the rest of America was glued to that white Bronco going like 4 miles an hour down the freeway for what felt like 6 weeks. Luckily, the story of Simpson's trial had a moment, as it were, with an ESPN documentary and Ryan Murphy's miniseries, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, an American Crime Story. According to Megan, it was only after watching these things that Nick realized, oh my God, this actually was a really big deal. Mullally,
Wait, the whole O.J. Simpson? This is the most Nick Offerman story of all time.
I know.
He was in a cabin in the woods and didn't know about the O.J. Simpson trial. The trial
really
of the
is.
century.
So him being off in a cabin in the woods was speculation. They're like, how could you not have known
Yeah.
about this theory? You must have just been off in the woods in a
He's
cabin.
He's gonna find out about 9/11 any day now.
I know. He's going to be flabbergasted. Mullally believed the spirit settled down after Offerman watched the documentaries and the American Crime Story series about her murder. Quote, "Ever since then, no more sounds," she said. She just needed Nick to understand what happened.
If it was any other celebrity, I would call bullshit. But because it's Nick Offerman, and he is a cabin in the woods guy, just, building the cabin and building the canoe, and I believe it. I believe it.
Is he really that guy, or is that just who he played in Parks and
No,
Rec?
that's really who he is. That's like what he
Oh, really?
does. He builds stuff like he has a whole business where he
I
just
like to-
builds stuff by hand.
I like to think that he wasn't even acting in Parks and Recreation. He just was being himself.
He was mostly just being himself in Parks and Recreation. One of the greatest TV characters of all time.
He really is phenomenal.
I love it. The first episode I ever saw was the Ron Swanson Pyramid of Greatness,
Oh, good. Fantastic.
which my favorite thing on that list was when he's like, crying, acceptable at funerals and the Grand Canyon.
Like one episode where he's like, whatever, the person next to him was like, I made vegan beef jerky or something. He's like, can I try it? Like, he hands him one, he just throws it right in the trash.
Yeah.
He's like, can I have another one?
He's at like the Whole Foods getting the samples.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. But this is kind of an interesting haunting story. If you take everything at face value, it's basically the spirit was I guess unsettled that somebody who lived in the house didn't know them, which on face value seems super like, oh, I'm going to make this haunting about me, or I'm going to make the story about me. But maybe a spirit, if you're going to be living in the spirit's house and the spirit says, I don't want you here unless you know what this place is and what it meant to me, I think that could hold weight.
You know what would be nice? It'd be nice if the spirit would tell us who the murderer was so we could finally figure out who killed those people.
I don't think there's much to figure out there.
Yeah, you don't think it was the person that wrote "If I Did It"?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Did you not know this was a book?
I'm kidding. I know all about it.
Have you heard the theory that it was his son that did it, not him?
No.
I heard that theory. I said, that's interesting.
Sure.
I don't know.
Or he did it.
Or he just did it.
Or he just did it.
There's your Occam's razor.
Yeah. There you go.
The next one is Kendall Jenner. Kendall Jenner has a ghost story, and she swears she is actually convinced that her mother, Kris Jenner's house, is haunted. The 29-year-old model is a big believer in the supernatural after witnessing her 21-year-old sister, well, she was 21 at the time, Kylie Jenner's shower turning on in their mother's home when nobody else was in the house, and the siblings used to hear footsteps on her roof. She said, quote, "I do believe in ghosts. I don't know if I've ever seen one, but I've experienced some pretty ghosty situations. In the house my mom lives in, Kylie and I would always hear footsteps on the roof while no one was home. Kylie's shout. Also, like if somebody was home and you heard footsteps on the roof, I still feel like that's unusual."
Yeah.
Have we ruled out Santa?
Yeah, true.
Was this on Christmas?
That'd be an important detail to include if that were the case, I think. So
think,
let's just assume not.
I'd also like to rebrand the show from Hometown Ghost Stories to Ghosty Situations.
Ghosty situations. That's pretty good. I do like that. I do like that. Quote, "Kylie's shower used to turn on all the time and we never knew why. She said, 'Oh yeah, I'm convinced it was a ghost.' Now, I will say that I was on a job the other day and we were using the basin sink in the basement. And it was one of those handles that goes, it could be like vertically up, or you can pull it down and then to the side is how it turns on. So like it goes like 3 different directions. And
Yeah, we don't know what you mean.
okay, so it's a faucet with one handle. And if the handle's all the way up, it's hot. If the handle's all the way down, it's cold, but you have to move the handle to the right to get the water to turn on. So
Okay.
left is
Now,
off.
now I do know what you mean. I think
Oh,
you
yeah.
actually did a great job the first time. You just
Yeah.
lost us both. I can tell by Rob's face.
Yeah. So when we would be using it, we'd be using the hot water, so it's all the way up, and then we would shut it off, so it's still in the up position. Then we'd walk away, and then all of a sudden we'd hear the faucet just running out of nowhere. We'd be like, "What the hell?" And what it was like a loose valve, so the gravity would just pull the thing back down to the side if it was vertically up, and the water would turn on. So you had to turn it off by pulling it all the way up and then pulling it down, so that gravity couldn't turn it on.
So did you get like a PhD to work this faucet, or
Yeah, I had to get
just
I had
some
to get a
post grad stuff?
master's in engineering.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the Jenner's house doesn't have any bad plumbing situations going
Yeah. Yeah, probably not.
They seem to be doing okay financially.
on.
Yes. During their younger years, the sisters would use a Ouija board with their 2 friends, but they would all be so scared by the answers, they had to sleep in the same bed afterwards. She said, quote, "The scariest thing we used to do was play Ouija board. It was me, Kylie, and our 2 other friends. We would always go to their house because my mother wouldn't let us have a Ouija board in our house. We would ask it little kid questions like, 'What's my aunt's middle name?' And would it give, and it would give it." We were, that was, I don't know why I couldn't figure out that sentence. And it would give the name, is how I would have worded it. We were really scared. Quote, "It would ruin our night. We'd all have to sleep in the same bed with their mom."
Dave,
So-
who regularly gets through Edgar Allan Poe books, can't get through a fucking Kylie Jenner quote.
Maybe it's because one is worded flawlessly and one is worded questionably.
Don't you insult the scholar Kylie Jenner.
It didn't sound like it was
Philosopher.
worded bad. It sounded like there was 3 words there, and it took you 8 minutes to read it.
The
He
sentence
did it.
was,
What does that mean?
the sentence was, "And it would give it." That's a weird sentence.
Yeah, it would give it.
It would
It's
give it.
not
Yeah.
I would have worded it differently too.
It just
I
looked
don't-
weird.
I
It
don't
looked
know.
weird.
I don't
But this
know.
is a creepy one because you got the footsteps on the roof, you got the shower turning on randomly, and you got a bunch of kids playing with the Ouija board. So we know
Right.
Ouija boards can sometimes conjure up some bizarre shit. Usually it ends up in more terrifying situations than footsteps and a shower valve, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, and those kind of questions are weird to ask because how is the spirit supposed to know who your aunt is to get the middle name? So
Yeah.
definitely kid related questions there.
Kid related questions. They could have been getting kid related answers, and one of the kids could have been pushing the planchette, but
Right.
we'll take it at face value. The next one is Gigi Hadid. She said, quote, "I have a lot of unexplainable experiences with the supernatural. There was one time when we were kids, we lived in this really old house, and I was given the attic as my room. Hadid explained that at night she would hear strange noises coming from the closet, scratching and humming, sometimes a muffled voice, but couldn't make out what was being said. Initially frightened, she approached her father to ask him what he thought about the noises in the attic closet. After investigating, her father assured her it was probably just the ghost of the old woman who lived in the house before them.
Great dad alert. That's amazing.
Rest assured, it's probably just the ghost of that horrible old woman who lived here before.
And she was a witch.
Rather than being frightened of the spirit, Gigi and her siblings decided to embrace her presence by talking to her and bringing her tea. So, a happy ending there. I included this, it's short, but I included it because I found it hilarious that the father just it's the ghost of the woman who lived here before.
I'm going to be honest. While you were telling the story, I had to look up who Gigi Hadid is, and I
She's a
still
model.
don't know.
She's a model.
Yeah.
Her and her sister Bella are both models.
Well, good for them. But
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah, I like
And
it.
good for them for embracing it as well and not being scared and terrified, and they're just trying to coexist. Probably
I know.
more people should do this.
I know. It's funny because they're kids and they initially went to their father scared, and it sounds like the father is hilarious and was like, I'm just going to scare my kids even more. And they ended up going the other direction, just being nice to the ghost and bringing it tea and
Yeah.
talking to
great.
her. I like it. Pretty cool. And maybe I just read it wrong. Maybe the father wasn't trying to be mischievous. Maybe he was saying, oh, it's probably just the ghost of the lovely woman who lived here before.
Hmm.
So, but I initially read it. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Got to do it. You got to do it.
So I saved the best one for last. It's a little bit longer, but I thought this one was pretty fantastic. This is a ghost story witnessed by the actor Daniel Stern, who played Marv in the Home Alone movies. And he was also on City Slickers. Funny guy.
And Celtic Pride.
Celtic Pride or Celtic Pride?
Celtic Pride, because it's
Pride.
about the Celtics.
Right.
It's a terrible movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's him, Dan Aykroyd, Damon Wayans. Awful, awful movie.
Damn.
Waste of a cast.
Sounds like a pretty solid lineup, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, in 1980, Daniel Stern and his new wife went on their honeymoon to England. While over there, Stern and his wife wanted to visit the moors, which is a popular area for kind of like the macabre, right? There's a lot of missing people and a lot of murder mysteries, and Sherlock Holmes took place there and several other spooky things. So I guess they were in for a spooky voyage. So they were driving to Tavistock when they stopped in the small town of Widdicombe to visit the village. They parked and they got out of their car and began walking through town. Right away, they felt like something was off with this town. People were walking around like they were completely disconnected. They were walking in and out of buildings, not associating with one another, just walking around like zombies, all dressed in black.
This
Daniel
sounds awesome. This sounds like where I should live.
Yeah, this does. Yeah, exactly. No one talks to anyone. No one leaves you alone.
This is perfect.
Daniel asked his wife if she was witnessing what he was witnessing, and she was also baffled by the strange town. Then, when they were about to turn around and head back to the car, because they were freaked out, a woman walked out of the church in a black cloak and approached them. She was clearly blind and had milky white eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but spoke only in tongues while making strange hand gestures. The Sterns were obviously freaked out by this, but didn't want to be rude, so they let her finish. Then as soon as she was done, they hightailed it back to the car and sped down the road, heading out of town.
Imagine not wanting to be rude to someone who's just babbling in tongues and but then speeding away. Like, you're also being rude by just speeding. She could have been asking for help or something. She could have been in a terrible situation.
If you were asking for help, don't do it in tongues. Like, you can't just assume.
You can't come out dressed like the female Undertaker and expect someone to help you in this situation.
Yeah.
Maybe she was held captive in a basement for 30 years. She comes out. She doesn't even know how to talk. She's blind from being in the dark for so long. First person she talks to, they just speed away in a car because they didn't want to be rude.
Yeah. Well,
she's not blind. The sun is actually just burning her eyeballs for the first time that it's seen light in 30 years.
Yep.
So they hightail it to get out of town, but they didn't get far because they hit a random jagged chunk of stone that was in the road, and boom, the tire blew out.
Better than Matthew Broderick. He would have just hit a person.
Tell me the blind lady comes back and changes the tire for them.
Oh, that would have been great. Just babbling in tongues with the car.
Yeah.
That would have been a hell of a twist.
I hope she was trying to warn them about the chunk of rock that was in the road down the road.
She could have.
She tripped over while she was escaping her son's basement.
Yeah.
Was it her son? Did we add that part of the story? Did I just completely add that in?
You made this all up.
I didn't make this. This is the news, Dave. We're a reputable news source.
they looked at each other, the Stern couple, and without saying a word,
They look at
soundlessly,
each other sternly.
Hardly.
They're like, I think we took a wrong stern.
Oh,
There's
no.
rocks in the road.
yeah. So they looked at each other without saying a word and just soundlessly agreed to keep on driving for 10 miles on a flat tire to the next town through the moors. That's how freaked out they were. They just destroyed the rim of their car just to get out of
It's a
town.
rental. It's a rental.
Yeah. So that was Daniel Stern's story, and I found this so fascinating. Like, I'm going to go do some digging into this backstory of this town and figure out what the hell was going, or could have possibly been going, what could have possibly been going on that strange 1980 day. So the backstory of Whitcomb is this. On Sunday, 21st, October 1638, when the church was full for a service, a terrible thunderstorm threatened the valley. One of the four pinnacles of the church tower was struck by lightning, with the result that it came crashing through the roof of the church and killed 4 people. Parts of the tower were found in the manor house garden 400 yards away to the north, and considerable damage was done. Chunks of jagged stone were thrown about. So near the rood screen at the front of the church, 2 large granite slabs are in the floor, and that is where those who died that day are now buried. The legend is that the devil came to Whitcomb to claim the soul of a man who was playing cards in the back of the church. The devil tied his horse to one of the pinnacles, grasped the person, and in his haste to gallop away, forgot to untie the horse. This pulled the pinnacle over, resulting in it crashing through the roof. As he galloped away...
So the devil did an oopsie?
He did a whoopsie. As he galloped away across the Dartmoor, the 4 aces fell out of the sleeve of the card player and landed on the ground and turned into the 4 fields. They are visible today in the shape of a heart, diamond, spade, and club. So I thought this was pretty cool.
So at that time, people were riding horses to get around, obviously. I do wonder if the devil were to come back to that town today, if he would come in like a Subaru or something.
Yeah, do
You
kind
think
of
the devil drives a Subaru? That was your first go-to?
He'd definitely be driving a Dodge Hellcat with 6 cylinders, 666 cylinders.
666.
That's what
600. That's 660 more cylinders than Rob has. That's
right.
a tough one to say. That's a tongue twister for you.
That's about how many syllables you just let out there as well.
I don't like the way you do business.
666 syllables. Yes, and Rob's 6-syllable car. That was fun. But I mean, the detail of Daniel Stern hitting that random jagged chunk of stone on his way out of town could be tied to the haunting of the jagged chunks of stone that were strewn about the street after the lightning struck that church. So the lightning striking the church is an actual story that happened in the 1600s. The devil story is obviously just a legend, but I thought that was all very fascinating.
Do you think everyone in the village is still a bunch of dickheads?
Do you think like the devil bought a horse? Was the horse from hell?
That'd be cool.
Or
a hell horse? That'd be
did
sweet.
he rent a horse? Did he steal a
I
horse?
would assume if it's pulling down an entire part of the church, it's not one that he bought at a stable.
Could have been one of those Budweiser horses. Those things look strong.
A Clydesdale?
Yeah. We don't call them Clydesdale around these parts. We call them Budweiser horses. Y'all got any of them Budweiser horses for rent?
Yeah.
Trying to go take down a church steeple.
Around
That's
these,
how the devil talks. Yeah.
that's the Atlantic Northeast he's referring to. That's
which is what they sound like over there, I hear.
Yeah. So there's a possible explanation for this haunting that Daniel Stern and his wife experienced back in 1980. So in the town of Whitcomb, they respect the death of town elders, or if there's like a famous person in town or whatever, an important person dies in town, the whole
They
town
respect him by walking out into the street and speaking in tongues.
maybe, but they will all dress in black and they will be as solemn as possible while out in public. So they could have just experienced that. Either way, creepy ass story.
I've been doing that for so long. I wear black anyways, and I'm always solemn in public.
That's true.
So
That is true.
That's what they call me. They call me solemn in public Jesse. Isn't that
they
right?
do. They do.
Dave, who is well rested, tan, and ready. I think that's what I said last episode. Nobody remembers.
Nobody, not one person. Well, actually, we will remember because it'll be on 300 Patreon names.
Solomon Public will be another Patreon name.
Yes.
Good band name.
Yes, it's a great band name.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's going to
Copyright
do it for this week's episode of Celebrity Hauntings, brought to you by the Hometown Ghost Stories crew. And we will catch you guys next Tuesday with another live episode. Join us on Patreon, join us on Discord, and join us everywhere.
Yes, do it.
Just follow us around, whatever you want to do.
Follow.